The invasion warning. The central Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a magnificent structure of crystalline towers and shimmering energy fields. Inside its main assembly hall, representatives from 800 civilized worlds gathered for an emergency session. The chamber's atmosphere processors worked overtime to accommodate the diverse life forms present, from methane-breathing quilxons to the silicon-based terraforms who communicated through harmonic vibrations. High Chancellor Vix stood at the central podium, her four eyes scanning the assembled delegates with grave concern. As a member of the ancient Peltari race, she had witnessed 3,000 years of galactic history. What she was about to announce would be recorded as one of the darkest moments in Council history. Honored delegates, Vix began, her voice amplified through translation matrices that rendered her words in 800 different languages simultaneously. We have received confirmed intelligence that the Zethrak Dominion is preparing a full-scale invasion of the recently discovered world in Sector 447, the planet its inhabitants call Earth. Murmurs rippled through the chamber like waves across an ocean. The Zethrak Dominion was feared across 40 star systems. Their military machine had crushed 17 civilizations in the past 2 centuries. They were efficient, brutal, and utterly merciless in their conquests. Councillor Thane, a tall reptilian being from the warlike Kravathi species, rose from his seat. High Chancellor, Earth is classified as a primitive world. Their most advanced vessels barely qualify as interstellar capable. Why does the Dominion bother with such an insignificant target? Vix touched a control panel, and a holographic display materialized above the assembly. It showed Earth in vivid detail, its blue oceans and green continents rotating slowly. Earth possesses something the Zethrak desire: rare mineral deposits and concentrations found nowhere else in known space. Additionally, the human population numbers over 8 billion. The Dominion views them as a potential labor force. Slavery, someone whispered from the back of the chamber. The word hung in the air like poison. Defense Minister Korath stood up, his massive frame towering over nearby delegates. As a Dravix warrior, he understood military matters better than most. How long until the invasion begins? Intelligence suggests the Zethrak fleet will arrive at Earth within 10 standard cycles, Vix replied. They are assembling a force of 3,000 warships. Supreme Commander Vorak himself will lead the assault. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Vorak was legendary, a military genius who had never lost a campaign. His reputation alone had caused 6 worlds to surrender without firing a single shot. We must warn the humans, declared Ambassador Liss, a peaceful being whose species had narrowly escaped Zethrak conquest decades earlier. We must give them a chance to evacuate or surrender peacefully. The non-interference protocols forbid it, countered Magistrate Orlan, a strict legalist who had served the Council for centuries. Earth has not applied for membership. They have not met the technological or social criteria. We cannot intervene in the affairs of non-member worlds. So we simply watch as an entire civilization is enslaved? Liss's voice cracked with emotion. Is that what our great council has become? The debate raged for hours. Some argued for intervention, others for strict adherence to protocols. Still others suggested covert assistance that might give humanity a fighting chance, without officially violating council law. No consensus emerged. Finally, the chamber doors opened with a soft hiss. A small figure entered, walking with measured steps down the long corridor toward the central podium. She was human, barely reaching the shoulder height of most species present. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical style, and she wore a simple blue uniform with silver insignia. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez of Earth, Vix announced with genuine warmth in her voice. We did not expect you to arrive so quickly. Maya had been stationed at the Council's diplomatic outpost for only 6 weeks, presenting Earth's application for associate membership. She had been patient and diplomatic, understanding that the Council moved slowly on such matters. But patience had run out. High Chancellor, Maya said, her voice clear and steady despite the 800 pairs of eyes watching her. I have intercepted your intelligence reports. I know about the Zethrak fleet. Ambassador, I must apologize, Vix said, and she genuinely meant it. The Council is bound by laws that prevent us from intervening. We cannot provide military assistance to non-member worlds. Maya looked around the vast chamber, studying the faces of beings from countless worlds. Some looked sympathetic, Others looked uncomfortable. Many appeared completely indifferent to Earth's fate. "I understand," Maya said quietly. "You have your laws, your protocols, your procedures." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "Let me tell you about human laws. We have one that matters right now. It's very simple. When someone threatens our home, we fight back." A counselor from a peaceful species spoke up. "Ambassador, please understand the reality of your situation. The Zethrak possess technology centuries beyond yours. Their ships are faster, more powerful, better armed. Resistance will only increase casualties. Perhaps negotiation or even conditional surrender." "We don't surrender," Maya interrupted, her voice suddenly cold as ice. "Ever." Supreme Commander Vorak's holographic image materialized in the chamber without warning, a breach of protocol that demonstrated his arrogance. He was massive even by Zethrak standards, his exoskeleton covered in battle scars that he wore like medals. His mandibles clicked together in what his species considered a smile. "How touching," Vorak's voice rumbled through the chamber. "The primitive speaks of fighting. Human, I have conquered 17 worlds. I have defeated fleets that possess technology your species cannot even imagine. Your world will fall in less than one solar rotation after my fleet arrives." Maya turned to face his image directly. She did not look afraid. She looked at him the way a scientist might examine an interesting but ultimately doomed specimen. "Supreme Commander," she said calmly, "I want you to remember this moment. Remember that I stood here and gave you a chance to turn back. Remember that I warned you." Vorak's mandibles clicked again, this time in amusement. "Warned me? Of what? Your primitive chemical rockets? Your crude nuclear weapons? I have shields that can withstand the explosion of a star." "I'm not warning you about our weapons," Maya said. "I'm warning you about us." She touched her data pad and new images appeared in the holographic display. They showed human history, battles and wars spanning thousands of years. Armies clashing with swords and spears, then rifles and cannons, then tanks and aircraft, then guided missiles and drones. "My species has been at war with itself for our entire recorded history," Maya continued. "We have fought over land, resources, ideology, religion, and sometimes just because we could. We have perfected the art of killing each other in ways you cannot possibly understand." The images shifted, showing terrible weapons humanity had created. Chemical warfare that dissolved lungs, biological weapons that turned immune systems against their hosts, nuclear weapons that could obliterate cities in seconds. "We created weapons so horrible that we banned ourselves from using them," Maya said. "We made rules about how we could kill each other because we scared ourselves with what we were capable of." Vorak's image flickered with what might have been uncertainty, quickly masked by aggression. "Ancient history. Your current military is fragmented, your weapons outdated." "You're right," Maya agreed. "Our military technology is primitive compared to yours. But we have something you don't. We have 8 billion humans who all remember one very important fact from our history." "And what fact is that?" Vorak asked mockingly. "That the most dangerous animal on Earth has always been another human," Maya replied. "We spent millions of years learning how to outsmart, outfight, and outlast the deadliest predator we ever encountered. Ourselves." She looked around the council chamber one final time. "Supreme Commander Vorak, you're about to discover what happens when 8 billion apex predators decide they have nothing left to lose. You're going to learn what it means to fight a species that views survival as the only acceptable outcome." "Empty threats," Vorak snarled. "My fleet departs in 2 cycles. Your world will be mine in 12. His image vanished, leaving Maya alone at the podium. The council chamber remained silent, uncertain how to respond to what they had just witnessed. High Chancellor Vix spoke softly. "Ambassador, I truly am sorry. I wish we could help." "Keep watching," Maya said as she turned to leave. "All of you. Watch what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Maybe you'll learn something." She walked out of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Behind her, 800 species began to understand that they were about to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. In orbit above Earth, emergency broadcasts went out simultaneously across every communication channel. Military bases activated, factories shifted to wartime production, civilians volunteered by the millions. And in secret facilities hidden across the planet and throughout the solar system, humanity began revealing weapons and technologies they had kept hidden from the galaxy. Because Maya Rodriguez had not been bluffing. Humanity had been preparing for this day since the moment they discovered they were not alone in the universe. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could acquire through trade or salvage. They had reverse engineered, adapted, and improved upon it. And they had done all of this in secret, knowing that one day someone would come for Earth. 10 light-years away, Supreme Commander Vorak's fleet assembled in perfect formation. 3,000 warships representing the peak of Zethrak military might. Soldiers who had never known defeat prepared for what they assumed would be an easy conquest. They were about to discover their terrible mistake. On the Council Station, monitoring systems focused on Earth's solar system. What happened in the coming days would change the galaxy forever. The Council could only watch, bound by laws that prevented intervention. They were about to witness why humanity had survived as the dominant species on a death world for millions of years. They were about to see what happens when you threaten a species that had clawed its way to the top of the evolutionary ladder by being more dangerous than anything that had ever tried to kill them. The countdown had begun. Earth's fury was about to be unleashed. The unexpected resistance. The Zethrak fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system with military precision. 3,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that could withstand planetary bombardments. Supreme Commander Vorak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator, watching the primitive blue world on his tactical displays with satisfaction. All ships report ready status, his tactical officer announced. Weapon systems charged. Invasion forces prepared for deployment. Vorak's mandibles clicked together in anticipation. This would be his 18th conquest and perhaps the easiest. Preliminary scans showed Earth's defensive capabilities were laughable. A few hundred orbital platforms with primitive kinetic weapons, several dozen spacecraft that barely qualified as military vessels. No planetary shields, no advanced detection grids. Begin the approach, Vorak commanded. Standard invasion formation. We will demonstrate our superiority and allow them one opportunity to surrender before we begin bombardment. The massive fleet began moving forward, advancing toward the inner solar system at a speed that would bring them to Earth within hours. Vorak had conquered worlds in less time than it would take to travel from the outer planets to Earth itself. On the Galactic Council Station, 800 species watched through long-range quantum scanners. The main observation chamber was packed with delegates, staff, and observers. No one wanted to miss what was about to happen, though many believed it would be over quickly. High Chancellor Vix stood at the front of the chamber, her expression grave. Beside her, Defense Minister Korath studied the tactical displays with professional interest. Ambassador Liss could barely watch, knowing what was about to happen to an entire civilization. The Zethrak fleet is entering Jupiter's orbit, a technician announced. No response from Earth's military forces. Perhaps they are hoping to negotiate, someone suggested, or perhaps they are simply paralyzed with fear, another voice added. Then something appeared on the scanners that made every observer lean forward in confusion. Thousands upon thousands of small signatures were emerging from behind Jupiter's largest moons, from the asteroid belt, from positions throughout the outer solar system. What are those? Korath demanded. The technician worked frantically at his console. They appear to be automated combat units, drones of some kind, but the numbers are impossible. I'm detecting over 500,000 individual signatures. On the Devastator's bridge, Vorak received the same reports. His tactical officer's voice held a note of uncertainty. Supreme Commander, sensors are detecting massive drone swarms emerging from concealed positions throughout the system. They are moving to intercept our fleet. Drones, Vorak said dismissively. Automated weapons are no match for trained warriors. Destroy them. The Zethrak fleet opened fire with their advanced energy weapons. Brilliant beams of concentrated plasma lanced through space, each shot capable of vaporizing a small ship. The drones began dying by the hundreds, then by the thousands, but for every drone destroyed, 10 more appeared. They emerged from hidden facilities on moons and asteroids, from camouflage stations scattered throughout the solar system, from storage bays that had been prepared for decades. And they kept coming. Sir, the drones are not engaging directly, the tactical officer reported. They are surrounding our formation and maintaining distance just beyond optimal weapon range. Vorak frowned. What are they waiting for? His answer came 60 seconds later when the drones suddenly accelerated toward his fleet from all directions, simultaneously. But they were not attacking. They were releasing payloads, millions of small objects scattered through space around the Zethrak formation. Each object was no larger than a human fist, spinning and tumbling as it spread out. The Zethrak sensors could barely detect them individually. "What are those objects?" Vorak demanded. "Analyzing now, sir. They appear to be simple ferrous spheres with minimal electromagnetic signature. They are not armed and pose no threat to our shields." "Then ignore them and continue the advance," Vorak ordered. The fleet moved forward, passing through the expanding cloud of metallic spheres. Nothing happened. Vorak allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The humans were throwing useless debris at his ships like primitives throwing rocks. Then Earth's real defense revealed itself. Every monitoring station in the solar system suddenly detected massive energy spikes from multiple locations. Hidden facilities on Mars, the Moon, and Earth itself activated simultaneously. They were not weapons platforms. They were electromagnets, the most powerful ever constructed by any known species. The activation was instantaneous and devastating. Every metallic sphere surrounding the Zethrak fleet suddenly accelerated to incredible velocities, pulled by magnetic fields measured in tens of millions of teslas. The spheres became projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The Zethrak shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and explosive ordnance, offered almost no protection against simple metal balls moving at relativistic speeds. The physics were unavoidable. Mass times velocity equals momentum, and at those speeds, even a small mass carried unimaginable kinetic energy. The first wave of impacts shredded through the outer ships of Vorak's formation. Hulls designed to withstand plasma bombardment simply ceased to exist as thousands of hypersonic projectiles tore through them like tissue paper.
Entire ships came apart in seconds, their internal atmospheres explosively decompressing into space. Evasive maneuvers.
Vorak roared, but it was too late. The magnetic fields had created a killing zone that encompassed his entire forward formation. Ships desperately tried to accelerate away, but the spheres were everywhere, pulled by fields that could not be blocked or deflected. Within 2 minutes, Vorak had lost 300 ships, 300 vessels destroyed by primitive projectiles and electromagnetic physics that any first-year engineering student could understand. The elegance of the trap was terrifying. On the council observation deck, shocked silence reigned. No one had ever seen anything like this. The humans had turned basic physics into a weapon of mass destruction. They weaponized magnetism, Korath whispered, his voice filled with professional horror and admiration. Simple, elegant, and absolutely devastating against energy-shielded targets. High Chancellor Vix watched as the Zethrak fleet pulled back in disarray, reforming their lines beyond the range of the magnetic fields. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "The humans have revealed one tactic. They will have others." Supreme Commander Vorak stood on his bridge staring at casualty reports that should not have been possible. 300 ships lost, thousands of warriors dead, and he had not even reached the inner planets yet. "Supreme Commander," his communications officer said hesitantly, "we are receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Vorak ordered, his voice cold with rage. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez appeared on his view screen. She stood in what appeared to be a military command center, surrounded by human officers and tactical displays. Her expression was calm, almost friendly. "Supreme Commander Vorak," she said pleasantly, "I hope you are enjoying your visit to our solar system. The magnetic mines are just the beginning of our hospitality. You dare mock me?" Vorak snarled. "You have destroyed 300 ships with a clever trick. I still have 2,700 warships. Your world will burn." "You're right," Maya agreed. "That was just a trick. A simple application of physics that your species somehow never thought to weaponize. But let me tell you about human warfare, Commander. We have been killing each other with cleverness for 10,000 years. Every weapon you will face in this system was designed by someone trying to figure out how to kill other humans more efficiently." She touched a control panel, and new tactical data appeared on Vorak's screen. It showed defensive positions throughout the inner solar system, weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt, mobile attack stations on the Moon, orbital defense networks around Earth itself, and every single installation was designed around exploiting weaknesses in conventional ship shields and armor. "You see, Commander, your shields are very impressive against energy weapons, but humans stopped using energy as our primary weapon centuries ago. We learned that kinetic force properly applied defeats almost any defense. Why waste energy heating something to plasma temperatures when you can just hit it really, really hard? Vorak studied the tactical data with growing unease. Every human defensive position was optimized for kinetic warfare. Railguns that could accelerate projectiles to enormous velocities. Missile systems with warheads designed to fragment into thousands of smaller projectiles before impact. Even simple chemical explosives that created expanding clouds of shrapnel moving at hypersonic speeds. You cannot possibly have enough ammunition to stop my entire fleet, Vorak said. But his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Maya smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Commander, humanity mines over 2 billion tons of raw materials from our asteroid belt every year. Do you know what we have been doing with all that material for the past 50 years? Since we discovered we were not alone in the universe? She paused for effect. We have been building ammunition. Trillions of projectiles stored throughout our solar system. We have enough kinetic ordnance to fire continuously for years. And unlike your energy weapons, our ammunition does not require reactor power or exotic materials, just metal and velocity. Vorak's tactical officer interrupted urgently. Sir, sensors detect multiple launches from the asteroid belt. Hundreds of missiles inbound. Intercept them, Vorak ordered. The Zethrak point defense systems activated, destroying the incoming missiles at range. But when the missiles exploded, they released their payloads. Thousands of smaller submunitions, each one packed with steel ball bearings. And each submunition was accelerating, using simple chemical propellants to increase velocity. The swarms of projectiles overwhelmed the Zethrak point defenses through sheer numbers. More ships took damage. Hulls cracked. Sensor arrays shattered. Life support systems failed. This is impossible, Vorak's tactical officer said. They are using weapons that should be obsolete. Chemical rockets, gunpowder, basic explosives. And they are working, Vorak admitted bitterly. They are working because we designed our defenses against civilized warfare, against advanced technology. These humans fight like savages. Actually, Maya's voice came through the communication channel, still calm and friendly. We fight like survivors. There is a difference. She gestured to someone off-screen, and a new type of weapon activated. From positions on Mars, massive coil guns fired projectiles the size of cargo containers. Each projectile was not aimed at Vorak's fleet directly. Instead, they were aimed to intersect the fleet's position hours in the future, calculating trajectories with perfect precision. You have two choices, Commander, Maya said. You can continue advancing toward Earth, in which direction those projectiles are waiting. Or you can change course, which will take you toward other defensive positions we have prepared. Or you can retreat back to the outer system, where the magnetic mines are still active. Vorak realized with cold certainty that he had walked into a trap. The entire solar system was a killing field, with overlapping fields of fire calculated decades in advance. Every possible approach to Earth had been prepared with weapons designed to exploit the exact weaknesses in Zethrak technology. How did you know? He demanded. How did you know our shields would be vulnerable to kinetic weapons? Maya's smile widened. Commander, we have been studying every piece of alien technology we could acquire for 50 years. We paid traders. We analyzed salvage. We examined every ship that visited our system, and we learned that every species in the galaxy uses energy shields because energy weapons are the standard. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. But humans did not develop in a galaxy with standards. We developed on a death world where everything was trying to kill us. We learned to use whatever worked. And what works against energy shields is hitting them with large objects moving very fast. Preem. Commander Vorak stared at the tactical displays showing his fleet being systematically dismantled by primitive weapons that should not have been effective. He had conquered 17 worlds with advanced technology, sophisticated tactics, and overwhelming force. Now he was being defeated by metal balls, chemical rockets, and simple physics. On the Galactic Council station, the observation chamber had erupted into chaos. Species that had considered Earth primitive were now frantically recalculating their assessments. Defense Minister Korath watched the battle with the expression of someone witnessing a paradigm shift in military thinking. They have been hiding their true capabilities, Korath said. All this time they appeared primitive because they wanted us to underestimate them. High Chancellor Vix nodded slowly. Ambassador Rodriguez tried to warn us. She told us that humanity fights to survive, not to conquer. We did not understand what that meant. On his flagship, Vorak faced an impossible decision. He could retreat, admitting defeat to a primitive species and destroying his reputation. Or he could advance, losing more ships to weapons that his forces were not equipped to counter. He chose to advance. Pride demanded it. Honor required it. And perhaps with enough ships he could still overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. It was the worst decision of his military career. The humans had been waiting for exactly that choice. They had predicted his pride would not allow retreat, and they had prepared something special for the commander who would not turn back. From hidden positions throughout the inner solar system, humanity revealed its final defensive weapon, not advanced technology, not exotic physics, just rocks, asteroids that had been quietly fitted with simple propulsion systems over decades. Asteroids aimed directly at predictable fleet positions. Each asteroid massed millions of tons. Each one moved at velocities measured in kilometers per second. And there were hundreds of them, forming a wall of planetary destruction moving inexorably toward Vorak's remaining fleet. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez appeared on every screen in Vorak's fleet simultaneously. "Supreme Commander, I gave you a chance to turn back. I warned you that humanity fights differently. Now you will understand what it means to threaten a species that survived by being more dangerous than anything that tried to kill us." Vorak watched as his fleet desperately tried to evade the incoming asteroids. Some ships succeeded, most did not. When asteroids measured in millions of tons collided with warships, the warships simply ceased to exist. Within hours, the most powerful invasion fleet the Zethrak Dominion had ever assembled was reduced to scattered survivors fleeing back toward the outer system. Vorak himself barely escaped in a damaged flagship. His military career destroyed, his reputation shattered. And on Earth, 8 billion humans watched the victory and began preparing for what would come next. Because they knew the galaxy had been watching. They knew that every species would now recalculate what humanity was capable of. They knew that Earth's fury had only just been revealed. The Galactic Council could only watch in terror as they realized the truth. Humanity was not primitive. They were patient. They were prepared. And they were absolutely terrifying.